इतना सा फर्क है एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में। मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी। ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया, 20 years of ideas.
Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to Franchise India. I am Gaurav, Marya, Chairman of Franchise India Group. So this is a very special webinar which we do every Saturday, where we talk about how you build a successful business. This webinar series is called Successpreneur, and Successpreneur is something which we really kept as a brand name because we felt that it's very important. Starting a business anybody can do, but making it successful is very, very important. So friend, this is going to be about 30 odd minutes webinar where we're going to talk about very important issues which are connected to when you're looking to start a business. I should also start with giving you a little introduction on Franchise India. Franchise India was started way back in 1999, where we started India business. We started actually in 98, then 99 was our India business established. And this business was established for helping people who wanted to start the business. Franchise India was the first platform, and today also the only platform where you can come and select the right opportunity for you. We have thousands and thousands of franchise opportunities and business opportunities available with Franchise India, and both kind of opportunities. One, if you want to start a new business, and if you are also looking to buy an existing business. So we have two different companies. One is Franchise India, and second company is called BusinessX. BusinessX helps you buy an existing business. A lot of our investors come to us and say, I want to buy a running business or maybe running profitable business. And a lot of people want to start their own new startup and they want to partner with a right brand. So what are we going to cover in this webinar? I'll cover giving you a little bit perspective, why this webinar and what we can achieve out of this webinar. So that's one part. We'll start with that. Then we'll get on to understanding the mindset. What is the mindset required? Because last 2 years, especially since the COVID really started, we shifted everything on digitally. So we started doing these webinars. We've done over 4,000 webinars as a company, and over 1 million people have attended these webinars. So interest is never a problem. A lot of people continue to come on our webinars. Today, I'm doing at least 3 webinars, and every webinar would get hundreds of people coming in. But actually, conversion of people really after seeing these webinars, business opportunity webinars, is very little, which means a lot of people really explore opportunities, but they don't buy the business because they're not in that mindset. We'll talk about that mindset, how you set your mindset for becoming an entrepreneur. That's most important to me. Second, how to choose the business, what kind of business you need to really choose and how you should go about doing it, and how you put in some kind of science behind it that you are able to narrow down the right opportunity for yourself. Then we'll also understand how to finance your business and what should be the approach of your financing the business. Because another problem is that a lot of businesses don't do well because they're undercapitalized. And because they're not undercapitalized, they're not able to make sense out of it. So that's also we're going to cover. Then I'll talk about my subject, which means how to select the right franchise and which are the franchisees I feel would do very well in next 2 to 3, 5 years, and what is happening as the business models changing, the way consumer is behaving is also changing. So a lot of changes which are coming in our industry and our day-to-day working, how new age franchisees are able to incorporate that, and what are the new age franchisees we can really talk about. Then we'll talk about the little bit of a life cycle of business, how the business should be done and what should be the stages of businesses. And that's also very important. Over the years, I've done many businesses. A lot of them are very successful and a lot of them have been a big failure. And I've learned that there are a cycle of a business. You need to really understand the cycle. And finally, we'll talk about building value. This is something which is a very important topic for me now. Almost every seminar, webinar, I talk about two things. One is building value and sustainability. These are two very important aspects for every entrepreneurial journey. How do you build sustainable businesses and how do you really eventually build value? Because value would only create wealth for you as you go along. So this is order which we need to do that. And friends, we are open for questions anytime. So you can use the Q&A box to ask as many questions you want to do that. And more questions you ask, more I will be able to give you answers. You can ask questions about anything. You can ask about business models, any particular franchise opportunity you're exploring, anything you want to discuss on the return on investment, how to calculate that, what is the right return on investment, any kind of risk which you want to really discuss on this. You can talk about legal agreements, what you need to do that, any kind of a structure, even financing. Financing is a very big part, how to really finance your business. The Durga Prasad has a first question. Good to have you, Mr. Durga Prasad. And his question is, having a franchise is a better option than creating a brand. Very important topic. I'll talk about it. And this is not this versus that. Both has pros and cons, and you have to really understand yourself to make a decision that should you go with a franchise and creating your own brand. Very, very good question, Durga. I will take this question. And Anil also wants me to do it in Hindi. So friends, if everybody wants me to do Hindi, I can add Hindi to what I'm doing. And if you're comfortable in English, because some our friends from deeper South India doesn't understand sometimes Hindi. So I avoid doing Hindi, but if others also want Hindi, then we can really shift that. So give your opinion if you want Hindi or English on Q&A box and we get started. So my first question, this is a very important question, and I will encourage everyone to answer. Because this is going to be very important. Another request for Hindi. आप सबको ये आंसर करना है this question, because this would really tell me where you are coming from. You are all joining this webinar in the interest that you are looking at an entrepreneurial journey. आप सब business करना चाहते हैं या अपना कोई व्यवसाय खोलना चाहते हैं. So if you want to start your entrepreneurial journey, it really starts with your mindset. It's a mindset. As I said, 1 million people attended our webinars, and these 1 million people, out of that, only 5 to 10% would have really taken a decision to start a business. Rest all were exploring. I call them opportunity explorers. They are exploring opportunities, but they're not able to decide. वो कभी डिसाइड ही नहीं कर पाते कि उनके लिए क्या बिजनेस है, या बहुत डर उनके आसपास रहता है. स्पेशली प्रोफेशनल्स जो जॉब में होते हैं, उनके लिए बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन होता है. एस्पिरेशन हमेशा होती है कि अपना बिजनेस खोलें, लेकिन कर नहीं पाते क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कि अगर वो बिजनेस नहीं चला तो जॉब भी जाएगी और ये भी खराब हो जाएगा. येस्टरडे आई मेट समबडी, 3 पार्टनर्स हैं, उन्होंने एक नाइट क्लब खोला. अभी भी तीनों के तीनों आईटी में काम कर रहे हैं. बिजनेस पे टाइम नहीं दे पाते क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि वो अभी भी वांट सिक्योर लाइफ एंड सिक्योर स्ट्रक्चर. सो एंटरप्रेन्योर जर्नी इज अ टफ जर्नी, और अगर आपका उसका लिए माइंडसेट रेडी नहीं है तो यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू दैट. आई नो अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु स्टार्टेड बिजनेस and 3 months they closed the business and went back to job. Why? Because they were not ready. They were not mentally ready to take that call. They were not mentally ready to put that contribution which is required. And in India, 40%, 40% से ज्यादा लोग फर्स्ट टाइम बिजनेस बायर होते हैं. फर्स्ट टाइम, उन्होंने कभी बिजनेस किया नहीं होता, तो उनके लिए बहुत बड़ा इश्यू होता है हाउ टू टेक दैट डिसीजन. एंड इफ दैट डिसीजन गोज रॉन्ग, आई नो इट इज नॉट जस्ट अ फाइनेंशियल इशू. It is more than that. It is a social issue. It would create a lot of issues in your personal life, your own confidence level, your family structures. So all that shatters and you go behind many, many years. I know people who have failed in business. They would go behind many years in their life, and they probably would stop taking initiatives in their life. It really is a setback. So entrepreneurial journey is a very important journey. And I encourage that because Franchise India is made on helping people to become entrepreneurs. And India needs that. Indian economy needs more and more entrepreneurs who create jobs. But it has to be also very scientific and a very, very thoughtful decision to become an entrepreneur. And this is a webinar we're going to talk about that aspect. So somebody says, look, I've continued English. So I'm trying to mix between English and Hindi so that nobody really loses on. And there are a lot of questions. I'll keep reading the question also. Let's make it more interactive. Prem Kumar says, franchisor will not support as promised. What is an alternative? That's a good question. We'll talk about when we come down to franchise part of my pace. What should we look at when you're looking at buying a franchise, and how do you really select the right brand and the franchisor? And Selesh says, how to avoid fear to start the business risk. And I've been working in job and now looking for starting a business, 25 years of experience. I exactly know, Selesh, I get almost hundreds of people every single day, very similar to what you are coming from. When you worked in there, you have built your price in the market. You know, आपने 25 साल काम किया, शायद आपकी एक मार्केट प्राइस है. जब आप बिजनेस में जाना चाहते हैं तो फर्स्ट तो आपका रिप्लेसमेंट होता है कि भाई आपको उतना तो चाहिए जितना आपको मार्केट दे रही थी. And then you have other aspiration because now you've started your own business. And if the business doesn't give you that, you always say, I was better off doing a job. I was not having any risk. I had my own life. And business takes everything from you. I can tell you, there is no business. A lot of people also come to me and say, get me a business where I don't have to put my time or involvement. There is no active business like that. Then you should look at passive investment. You invest with stocks of any different large companies, and they are good managed companies, and invest on that. But if you want to do active business, it would need you. It's very, very important. That's very, very important. So it has to be that preparation. And we'll talk about how you really calculate your ROI. But let's start with the mindset. And my first question to all of you is, give me how many of you are very certain on a particular date you want to really start your business. Give me a date. It might be 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, 1 year, 2 year, anything which comes to your mind. And it has to be firm. It has to be, if you're not confused and you are not too sure, which a lot of people are, 95% of people are not sure. They're just exploring. They don't have that date in their mind. This is a starting point. Give me anybody has a date, has any firm date. I want to really see large audiences there now, about over 90 odd people, but anybody who has that date available, which is very firm with you, that you want to really start your business within 30 days, 90 days, 60 days, any date which comes to your mind, go out and Q&A box and give me the date. And I know a lot of webinars I've done, not even a single person shows up which has a firm date in mind. And that's the problem. That is the problem. Because you don't have a date, like Mr. Ghoshal says soon, Mr. Garg says 90 days, Mr. Das says 1 year, right? Again, if you're 1 year, it's just, you want to do it, but you're not too sure when you want to do it. You put in a year to it. Friends, this is very, very important. And one lesson in my all entrepreneur sessions I do is I talk about this date. This is the starting point. It's not your investment readiness. It is not your anything else. It is that date which is very important, because that would start preparing you to become an entrepreneur. This is what our life has taught us. Everything had a moment, right? When we were studying, there was a moment where we have to go for our board exams or things like that. And we prepare ourselves for that moment which used to come. If you want to start your entrepreneurial journey, there has to be a date in your mind. And I further define date as D stands for discipline. You need to be extremely disciplined towards your journey. A means accountability. You need to be accountable for yourself and what you're going to do and for your money which you're putting in. T is training yourself, training to be an entrepreneur. You're not trained to be an entrepreneur. No education we get in schools, colleges, universities, no education we get which trains us to be an entrepreneur. Even these MBA colleges train you to be a professional working for somebody else. They don't train you to become an entrepreneur. And so you have to train yourself. It's not difficult. Everybody can train himself or herself to become an entrepreneur. And last is the most important part, the encouragement. Nobody outside would come and encourage you. Maybe very close family members, your wife, your brother or your father or mother would encourage you, but nobody outside is going to come. So as an entrepreneur, you need to encourage every single day that this is your journey and you need to make it. So unless and until you have this date, and even if that date you're not ready and you put another date to it, that's fine. But today, one thing you should take back, if you're really serious about starting your entrepreneurial journey, put that date. It might be your mother's birthday. It might be somebody else important time in your life, which you want to really say that, look, this is my date. 4 months I will give myself. I'll prepare myself. I'll study myself. I'll train myself to become an entrepreneur. And that something is very, very important. And what is that mindset? Once you have fixed the date, then you need to really first go and discover a few things. A lot of people are writing 60 days, 1 year. Vishwanath in Hyderabad, 1st May 2022, Rajiv Tucker says, and this is the right guy. He is the one who has that date. It might be not 1st May, it might be 15th May, but at least he's preparing himself for that. And that's very important. And take this as a lesson and to probably go out and fix that date with you and say, I will work towards it. I will work towards it. And I'll make sure that I'm trained myself enough that I can start my business at that particular date or following date. But at least you're preparing yourself for something. So once you have put that date, this is the first order. This should be the first page of your new diary where you write the date and say, this is my date, I'm going to start. And a lot of people who have attended they come to me and say, we fixed that date and we started working towards it and we got it. And that's something really happens. And it worked with me. Every time I had a firm plan, I achieve it. When I'm lost, I'm just exploring, nothing really comes in, or at least it will not come to 100% of what I was expecting. So once you've done that, what is your mindset now should really look at? First thing is you need to define your life goals. On the same first page of your diary, which you're starting your entrepreneurial journey, once you have written date, you start writing your life goal. Life goal is very important because a lot of people come to me and say, I want a business which can give me good ROI. I say, how does ROI would do for what you want to achieve in your life? Because if that was the case, people like Dhirubhai Ambani, Anil Agarwal, these people would have not built what they've built. They had much bigger life goals. And that's why they were not really driven by ROI. They outperformed their ROIs. They really grew 100%, 200%, 1000% in their businesses. And so they never came with the logic of thinking minimalistic. They came with a very clear what they want from their life. And it should not have to be too ambitious. You can be realistic also. A lot of people are not very ambitious. They're not too adventurous. They are very realistic. But at least you know what is next 10 years are going to be for you. Is it big events coming in your life in next 10 years? Do you have your children's study coming in where you have to spend a lot of money? Is there a marriage in your family which you need to support? Is there a house which you need to buy because you're on a rented apartment? You want to go there and buy that entire thing? What are the important events in your life goal which are going to come, and what are they going to ask for from a financial contribution from you? Because if you don't have that life goal when defined, then you will never buy a business or build a business which would match your life goal. Because unless your business goals are matching your life goals, it will never work. It will never work, and it would not give you this and that. Second thing, you need to also define yourself at how you are ready for the risk, because businesses have risk. There is no business which comes out which has no risk, right? And a lot of people ask me and say, get me a business which should not have risk. I said, there's no business like that. There is no business. Even if you put money in the stock market and invested with the largest of the company or a multinational, that can also fall. That can also fall. So the businesses or investment, I should say, always have risk. Define yourself as a person that how your risk appetite is. Some has a different way of doing it. Like I met somebody recently and he says, look, I've parked this money, and this money, if doesn't do what I am expecting to do, it doesn't change anything in my life. So which means he has a very high risk appetite because he doesn't bother about this money. This is not going to change anything in his life. But there are others who don't want to have that risk appetite because they have a lot of other things attached to it. And sometimes people bring in loans to the business. So which means that they cannot afford to do that because this would take a lot of other issues. I'm advising somebody to structure their company, large company. They were a large preschool business. And in the COVID, all preschools got shut. And he, in the excitement of growth, has taken a loan of up to 7-8 crores on the books. And today, The business is shut, there's no income and big loan sitting there. So even this can happen to people. So you need to really define yourself. What is your risk appetite and how you want to do that? Third point is the resources you want to bring into the business. And resources are just not your capital. Capital is the least thing, because if say 100 people put the same capital in the same brand or same business, they would all have different results. We very clearly understand if 100 people put the same investment in the same brand, in our same opportunity, all 100 would have different results, which means it was not about the capital, not the opportunity. It was about the other resources which you bring in, which means what are you bringing in? I always call there are 3 ROI. One ROI is return on investment. Second ROI is return on intelligence. What kind of experience, intelligence you bring in. Third ROI is return on involvement. How much involvement you have on the business. So you might have all 3, then you are a great operator, top class. You might have 2, you might have 1. So you need to be very clear that what kind of resources you are bringing in. Is somebody also joining with you from the family? What kind of contribution time you are ready to put in the business? All that are very important aspects for you to do that. And finally, what is a larger purpose or the problem you want to solve, right? So everybody has some kind of inclination, things which they like doing it. So if your mindset is not really done with these 5 things, I will again repeat, it's life goals. What kind of life goals you have, what kind of resources you want to do, what is the risk appetite you have, what kind of experience you bring in, and finally is the purpose. What is the lighter purpose or why you want to really start? So once you have done that life goals and you are very clear on your mindset would again repeat. One is your date, which you want to really set it up. And second would be getting into the business. So once you have decided that I want to really get into the business, then you have to also understand how you want to finance that business. But before even go there, let's understand how to really select an opportunity. And this is where Franchise India and our consultants in 95 cities today help you to choose the right business which you want to do that. We have another program called Advantage, where we actually take you through a journey of what kind of business you want to do that. I'll come down to that part a little later, but let's get into choosing a business. If you're choosing a business, you need to really ask, there are 4 fits in every business which requires. Every business needs these 4 fits. And you need to evaluate yourself on these 4 fits and also find out which fitment is an advantage area for you. So first fitment is strategic fitment. What experience or real estate or something you bring into the business which can be very useful. What is the strategic aspect of what you bring in on the table which others might not be able to bring in? So that's something which is very important for you. Second is your financial fitment. How much capital you have and you can deploy, and how easy you are in bringing that capital, right? So that's very important. Your financial. Third is your operational fitment, which means that you're operationally involved. So you're an operator yourself. You want to operate business yourself, and you want to put your time, and you have the availability of that time. And in current circumstances, you can devote that without any disruption for next 3, 4, 5 years, since as long as you want to run the business. And finally is your marketing fitment, your go-to-market capabilities to take that business off the ground and make it. These 4 are all important, but there would be something which is advantage to you. And this is where our consultants really work with you and to understand where you're coming from. What is the important aspect? And this would also define what kind of business you should choose. Say somebody comes and say, I'm very comfortable in my investment. I can do a long-term investment. I can handle gestation 5, 6, 7 years. Then I will say, go healthcare, go education. School takes 7 to 8 years, K-12 school, to come down to cash break even. So you need to have 7-year horizon to continuous investment in phases to build a K-12 school. So if you don't have financially strong enough to continue to feed for many years, then this is not right opportunity for you. Versus if somebody has to really get cash flows back in the system, they cannot afford to have higher gestation cycles and so on and so forth, then this fitment I would not say for them. Then they have to look at something else. But sometimes you have a great real estate, which is a right place, a retail place or a commercial place, which you want to really deploy. And there are businesses which can be housed on that. So that can come to advantage. Sometimes you have a very strong operational capability, very strong operational capability. because of your experience and also your time is important, then you should look at businesses like food, F&B. F&B, a lot of people come, they are in the first financial fitment. I don't tell them to do it. Even if you have a lot of money, you should not do this business because it needs operational input. You need to be involved. If you really see two restaurateurs, one is successful and one is not, it's just about that who has the ability to run, go behind the counter, work himself, and deliver a great business. I have a dear friend who called Chef Vikas Khanna. He's a probably most celebrated chef in the world, for Indian chef in the world. And he's a great operator. He is behind the piece and working in his restaurant. And that's why his restaurant has become the most popular restaurant in New York for at least progressive food. So this is why? Because he's a great operator. He's a top class operator and he works in that. And if there is something which needs a lot of marketing input or a go-to-market capability, then your marketing fit would come. So like we're doing brands like Vedantu and we're doing Unacademy. These are great edtech platforms, great companies, big visibility, but you need somebody who has a marketing fit, who can really go and open up doors in schools, sell those SaaS products in the school. So depending on what you are bringing in would decide what kind of a business you need to choose. So how the business selection should be done? Connect the 4 dots. The first dot is the industry. What industry you need to really look at it. And don't follow your passion. That's wrong, because a lot of people come and talk about because I'm passionate about it. You don't start business just because you're passionate about it. You start business because you want things from it which can service your life goals. You want returns from it which can service your life goals and your current expenses and so on and so forth. So, and most of the times you don't get from the business which you are passionate about. I have found a lot of people come with just passion, but if you have something which you are passionate and you are also able to achieve your life goals, then it's great. Then it is great. But otherwise, I will always say, select a business which has a good opportunity for you to run that business for next 4 or 5 years and which can service your life goals. So that's very important. So first, select the industry. So if you come to Franchise India or talk to me, I will not let you select one industry. I will give you, depending on your strength area, I will make sure 3 or 4 industries you choose. And these industries should also have a great future. And we will also have to understand those industries, what is happening in the industry, what is happening in mature markets, what is going to be threats in that industry, how this industry can change. So all that is very, very important. Look at one of the most desirable industry in India was auto dealerships. One time, the most richest people in the city would have that auto dealership. This whole industry in next 3 to 5 years is going to collapse for many reasons. It is going to not only collapse just because e-vehicles are going to come. It's also going to collapse because the models might not work like that. The way people buy cars might change. Like in everything we've really seen, it has changed. The way people used to buy electronics has changed. The way people used to buy fashion has changed. Similarly, this might also change. And companies which would be able to adapt that would be able to run that business model, and their business models would collapse. So all 4 dealerships in India have been closed. So why? Because these are the company has decided to walk out of India, the business is closed. But so whenever you're selecting the industry, you need to really understand what is going to happen to this industry. What does 4 or 5 years look like in this industry, and why you have to be there, and what else you bring into this which can complement you to be part of that industry. So select 3 or 4 industries. Once you've done that, then we go on brand selection, how to choose a brand. And this is where that very, very important decision really comes in. Should you do your own brand or should you do a franchise? If you have some experience and you have some kind of a disruptive business model and idea which you want to do, and you have that originality, then maybe startup, your own startup, because you can build far greater value. But if you don't have that and you are new to the business and you've never done business, then I will never tell you to do startups. I will say go franchise. That's why 90% of all startups fail in the first 3 years. They fail. They don't survive. We only talk about the unicorns, but only last year, 20 odd unicorns were born. So we talk about only 20, but every city would have thousands of startups. Or I would say India would produce millions of startups. And we talk about only that. Because of that aspiration of that unicorn, a lot of people get into startups and fail. 90% of all startups fail the first 3 years. Only 10% survive beyond 3 years. On the other side, franchise has a very strong statistics because you're going with somebody who's already running, the business has been proven, there is some kind of a hand holding, you get a brand also, and a lot of other logistics which are very important to run the business. So 70% of franchise would survive the first 3 years. So it's a very, very contrast. But if anybody asks me, I say you have to judge yourself. Where are you? And also your risk appetite. If you have a higher risk appetite, something innovative, something very disruptive, something which you can really build it up, then maybe start up. And if you are somebody who don't feel that you're ready for it, maybe go with a franchise, learn some experience, do something on great on that. And then maybe you have an opportunity to do your startup. So that's very, very important. So select this brand, which is the second dot, which you need to do. The third dot is your financial capability. And this brings in very important point is that how you are going to finance your business. So I call the 60-40 rule. 60-40 rule means that 60% should be your capital deployment, which means the capex you want to put in the business. The mistake people do is that if they have 50 lakh rupees, they go out and invest 50 lakh rupees just to build the business. And they have no money to run that business. No money. Almost 70-75% of businesses which collapse are not collapsing because of the idea, brand, business owner's commitment, anything else around it. They collapsed because they were undercapitalized. They didn't have money to run that business. So never do that. You can start small. People come to me with, say, 30 lakh rupees investments. I say, if you have 30 lakh rupees, 60% goes into your capital deployment and 40% you're going to keep for your working capital. If you have the rule of 60-40, likelihood you would sail around, you will learn that even if you got into a franchise which was not a very successful franchise model or a brand was not supporting you, because you have that working capital, you learn the way. I've seen a lot of franchisees who have survived where the brand has gone collapsed. There is still a lot of Yo China franchisees running, but the company has shut. Similarly, we did a chocolate brand a long time back out of Delhi, and they had franchises in Hyderabad, and I think all franchises survived, but the company went bankrupt. So there is some time, because if you have that working capital and you are understanding the business, it will never affect you. You will run as a business. So franchising is a unique business model because you are independently owned, independently operated, which means that you are not influenced by what happens to the company, but you get support from the company. So that's a good situation to be in. It's your business, which you're running yourself. Whenever you seek support, you can get it from the top, but you are not influenced by what is happening there. So every business is independently owned, independently operated. So that becomes a very interesting opportunity. So whenever you're financing, the third dot, which is very important, is to do 60-40 rule. And finally, the fourth dot is your micro market. How your micro market is behaving. What is telling you? Where is the need gap? What is the thing which you want to bring it to your market? What is people not consuming? So I have two rules on that to understand micro market. One rule is follow the leader, which means that anything which is becoming very successful, if you are also doing it, you will also be successful. But don't ride a wrong wave. Like, for example, there was one time in Delhi, about 25,000 pool tables. Now, this is wrong wave. We just without thinking, going and following that everybody is putting a pool table, I should also invest into that. So that all is a wrong idea. So you need to really see a genuine demand case. What is a gross or a total addressable market wherever you are doing? Say you're coming from Agra and you're looking for a particular opportunity. Understand the total addressable market. See who are the competition currently addressing that. What value proposition the brand you're selecting will bring in to shift that market to you, or there is enough and more new market coming in which you can address. So these are very important questions to do that. Sometimes you make the business model is already overcrowded. Like we see food business franchise, a lot of people want to buy. Almost every third person who comes to Franchise India wants to do a food franchise. And we also know 50% of franchises in food almost collapse. You know why they collapse? Because overcrowded. Too many people got into that, like dark kitchens, and almost everybody started a dark kitchen. And I don't know how many of it got closed. So there is overcrowded structure of that. So you have to be very strongly looking at it. Like, for example, there was a time where we started preschool business in India. And I remember when I used to go to Bangalore, the schools used to have 200, 250, 300 kids. The franchises were very happy, making a lot of money. And suddenly people got overcrowded. In just Kormangala, which is just part of Bangalore city, there were 85 preschools. And the average school would start getting only 40, 45, 50 kids. So which means that almost everybody was either breaking even or losing money. So this really is a wrong thing to do that. So if you are very interested and you wanted your wife to be in child development because she is passionate about kids, then find something else in to do that. Don't follow just a preschool. Right now, preschool has a huge demand because a lot of have shut. So suddenly the demand has come back again because kids are not gone anywhere. They would all come back to schools. So you have to really see the timing and also the opportunity, how much the gap is there. This is also one of the exercises our consultants would do. So when our consultants really work with you, we work on these 4 points. We work on the industries you choose, the brand you choose, understanding your financial goals and how these goals are going to give you depending on your risk appetite, and finally understanding your micro market, what would work in that micro market. Now, somebody's asked me a question earlier when we started, is how to select a franchise, what kind of a franchise we need to do that. So first is when you're selecting a franchise, there are 5 rules which you need to follow. The rule number 1 is you need to really see the brand fitment to the market which you have absolutely clearly, and why you think this brand would do well in the market which you are talking about. Is there some influence the brand already carries in that market, which means that people know the brand already, or very similar market to this, it has been very successful. So that fitment is very, very important. What tells you that it would do well in the market which you want to really take it? That's very, very important. And this question should be a hard question for a franchisor to answer. And say, what tells me? Give me a market which is similar to that. This is very, very important. When Starbucks was selling in India, they didn't want to compare India with the US because they are 2 different markets. They wanted to compare India with Malaysia because that's a market which was closest to India. And from a buying behavior, developing country, nature of how people behave in Asian countries, and all that was very, very similar. So they did a lot of study on Malaysia before they entered India. So you have to really understand which is the closest market to you and how do you want to do a comparative on that. That's one. The second part, which is also very important, is the support. What kind of support you're going to get from the franchisor? Both initial means starting your business support, how you're going to get all the support in the starting time, what kind of checklist they are going to provide. And second is ongoing support. Ongoing support would be marketing, training, and so on and so forth. The third thing, which is the biggest lacking point, is a lot of franchisors, brand owners I know are great operators. Great operators, they know how to run the business. You go to them, they will show their business to you, which is already making a lot of money. You get impressed and say, I want to buy this franchise because he's making a lot of money. Like yesterday, I got a young man who came in and he started some Momo brand in I think, and he's doing some phenomenal numbers, which normally a QSR would not do, even a Subway would not do. But now, because he's hands-on, he's always there in the entire thing, he's making very big money. And a lot of people would get impressed with him because you making money, I can also make money. But that's not true. That's not true because every single location would be unique. Every single structure would be unique. So you have to really ask that it's not important that the franchisor is doing well. You need to really ask that, do you have proprietary systems, processes? Everything is documented so that I can be trained on that. That's very, very important. And that's where I call these US corporations great organizations in franchising. Why? Because they're simple businesses. They're very simple. Subway is a simple business. Domino is a very simple business. But why they are successful? Because they have everything documented and putting into some kind of an order. And they train you on that. So you actually get trained on running and managing a business like this. A lot of times, this is not provided. Rather, I see a lot of franchisors, especially the younger ones, are claiming a lot of things. Or you don't have to work. I will look after your business. I will give you all the support. That's not true. And if I was in a franchise shoe, I will say, why should you look after my business? I will look after my business. You need to really train me so that I can look after my business. So that's very important, though. You need to really ask the tough question and say, how much training I'm going to get and what kind of topics I'm going to get trained on. And can I be trained on completely to manage the business from the back of the house, the front of the house, consumer handling, everything which is important to my business, I want to be trained on. And this you should insist, and also ask for an operating manual from every single company you talk to. Because if they're not giving you operating manuals, which means that they have no standardization of their business model. And if they don't have any standardization, they would never be able to run and operate a business. Like, for example, we did long time back Lakme salons. It was done for Unilever, and Franchise India Frank Corp took over the project. And when we did that, the company spent a lot of money and time and effort, because it's Unilever, to put systems. And I know they have upsides, they low sides. There are a lot of franchisees got closed and died, but still they run 450 salons in this country, and they are very, very successfully running those salons. Why they are able to do that? Because they're system-driven organization. They are not really driven from that thing. So always ask about what kind of systems and structure. The fourth point is, how do you really decide which company you want to invest? Also depends on what kind of team they have. Who's the founder? What is his pedigree? Today, entire investment world really works on the founder story. What is the founder story? What is going to build? And this is what is very, very important for you. How do you really define which is the kind of team you want to work with? Because if team has the right alignment and they have the right vision, they have a right growth trajectory, they are adequately capitalized, then this would be the very important point. And the fifth point is, very importantly, how do you see the franchisor being capitalized? Which means that they have enough money to sustain that business. Or sometimes, we get a lot of early startups which are anyways themselves struggling, and they don't have that capital. Rather, they come to franchising because they don't have capital and they want to get into franchise. Not that we are not excited about startups and they have a good idea and we want to take them to market, but you have to really see that it should not hamper your business. It should not be a situation where they are not able to support you in this business. So this is the 5 very, very critical questions. And all these 5 you have to rate. Maybe give 20 marks to one, and then it becomes 100. And if you see that you've not scored about 70, drop that opportunity. So that's how you should really do a lot of study on different brands. And this is one of the areas where our consultants really work with you to select the right industry, select brand, and then do a lot of rating. And once you've done honest rating, not being emotionally attached to it, because sometimes when you're selecting a business, you start liking it and you get emotionally attached. And then you start selling it to everybody that why I want to do only this business because you personally like it, but you've not done and looked at from a critical viewpoint. And this is very important that you do some kind of a critical analysis on that business and then only decide what you want to do. Finally, what is a life journey of a business? I call the 4 parts to it. And these 4 have to be very carefully understood, and especially for people who are getting in business first time. They get super excited and they want to really tell the world that they've got a business, and they go overboard in everything. They overboard in their investment in business, which is required. They go overboard in their launches. They go overboard in terms of their marketing, initial marketing, and so on and so forth. And they run out of cash. So when you are running a business and you're starting a business, divide that into 4 parts. The first part is your, so to say, foundational part, or the incubation part, where you're incubating the business, you're foundationally setting the business right. This part is very important. I think you should be absolutely silent. No need to do grand launches and other things. No requirement. It is very important 3, 4, 5 months for you to really learn the business well. Every role in that business, you need to do it yourself, so that you champion and you know how to transfer it. So the business would come in your control. Otherwise, business would never come in your control. Never come in your control, and you will just collapse. I remember when I started my career, initial days, I gave somebody a Baskin Robbins. There used to be a parlor, a franchise, and I used to know this guy well, and he took a franchise. And because it was very close to my office, I used to look at him. He used to come in the evening with his wife and 2 kids, sit in the car, order the ice cream from Baskin Robbins, just eat the ice cream and go back. He never went inside his own parlor. And a business like that did very well initial days because it was the new brand. Nobody knew Baskin Robbins, international brand. There used to be a lot of people coming in, and suddenly got closed because it didn't do well. He has no understanding of how this business was running. So he was not an operator. He was just an outside investor and wanted to tell the world that I've got Baskin Robbins in this market, and they were not able to sustain. So you have to understand that. And today, I think in the times we are living in, you should have no shame to do any role in your business. Any role in your business, because that should be rather proud feeling that you are part of your own business and you don't mind taking on things. This is very, very important. I have seen the days where West Side was launched. It is a Tata venture, and Neol Tata was actually doing valet parking for people. We didn't know. Actually, somebody reached there and they were looking for somebody valet to park. and Newell Tata went out to do that. So we have to learn from these people. He's a Tata family, and somebody just doing a valet for you. It's a great thing, but what shame he has to not support his own business and so on and so forth. So there's a very important aspect. So you need to really do the foundation right. The second is you need to now bring in business to a level where it is looking after itself, which means that the business is having cash positive. So it doesn't ask for money. So it's a stability stage. So you have stabilized the business. Now everything is in your control. Your team is not leaving you. You don't have too much of attritions. And if you have attrition, you know whom to hire, how to place, how to train them. So now the business in the second stage is asking for stability. If you get that stage and 2-3 months, you're looking at that now, the business is very clearly moving to the right direction. Then it goes to a third stage, which I call the growth stage. This is the scale stage. This is where you really want to ramp up. You want to take numbers to peak performance. If you are here, if you feel that you can do this, that's the time you need to do that. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, depending on where you are to running to your peak performance. If you run there at the peak performance, you hit that goal, whatever goal you set yourself, and that is the time you explode marketing, you go out and do whatever it requires to multiply the business. And once you've reached there, then ask for the fourth stage is sustainability. Now the business can stay there without you, which means now the business and the processes and systems had taken over, and business would continue to be there without you being there. And the day you can tell my business runs without me, it's running on systems and processes which you've built over the time, it has become valuable, which means you can pass that business for profit and capitalize yourself. And this is where a wealth creation happens. Seasoned entrepreneurs know the starting date, and they also know the closing date. Seasoned entrepreneurs, they exactly know how they would do this journey to start the business and bring it to a sustainable level where the value is built, and they know how to unlock that value, either bring in an equity partner in the business or sell the business and create that wealth. And this is where the journey should be for every successful entrepreneur. This is why we started this series called Successpreneur. So friends, this was something which I wanted to share this morning. I overstretched my webinar. It's already 45 minutes plus. I'll take some questions. If you have some questions, quickly go and ask, and I'll try to take some questions, and then I'll talk about a little bit on the Advantage program. Very good, Salesh. If you are doing competitiveness and you are already studying from that, there are 300 e-vehicle companies in India, 300. In the conventional technology, there were only, I think, 40 companies. These are now 300 because a lot of startups have come in, brands have come in. So it's very difficult to choose. So you need to really, and I also see that all 300 would not survive. Some would collapse. And so you have to very carefully understand that and also see who has the capacity to deliver. Sometimes the demand has become very high in electric vehicles, especially in two-wheeler, and supply is still not matching it. So because some startups don't have that capital to really support the dealerships. So you have to be really very, very careful. And if you're doing two-wheeler and rickshaw, I think very carefully select the brand, and any help you require, please reach out to us. You're already working with franchise in a team. That's very good. Need to start my own franchise. How to start? Daljit, we have a separate webinar which happens every Wednesday, which is how to start your own franchise brand. So we talk about that, so that you should attend. And even if you want to reach out to us, somebody from our team can guide you. Okay, how to ascertain the demand or requirement in people around to select the right, select the menu or a franchisor. Key parameter, where you want to open up a QSR, how to make a franchise in auto mode. So Prem, I run the journey. Don't start with auto mode. QSR or a food business is one of the most difficult businesses to do. Most difficult. You have to source from 200 places, your raw material, you have to process this, it's a very manual intervention, and then you have to deliver that. And you are most competitive. And especially with this Zomato and Swiggy, they have created a landscape. While it has encouraged a lot of startups to come in, but you are competing with almost everybody. You are competing even with somebody cooking at home. You're competing there, and you're competing with multinationals. So it's not an easy business. And if you want to really jump into that, then you need to really tell yourself that you will be behind the counter. This is something which you have to tell yourself. And if you have that commitment, select the right company, which comes in the right structure and gives you that opportunity. And also see the location is very, very critical in this, especially for QSR, what is the demand, and do a lot of micro analytics. Are people doing it? What is a micro competition? Which means that in that neighborhood where you want to open up, who's your immediate competition? Both on the brick and mortar and also on dark kitchen. Dark is also very important and actually more disruptive, because people feel that they're doing from dark kitchen, they do ridiculous pricing, and sometimes high street people are not able to match that pricing. Okay, transforming 100% risk or too low moderate is almost zero. To make it asset centric and dominant brand player, making the impact in solving a problem on social reforms. How do you yes, I am good in health, Kushal. So if I have understood your problem, you want to really do the risk analysis, and if you want even further discussion on this, you can also reach me. And solving problem on social reforms, yes, obviously, if there is your business can also do some problem solving, especially for the world, then it is even greater. It is even greater. And I think that young entrepreneurs who are coming in, they're very socially conscious, and they talk about sustainability. They talk about a lot of other things which are very important for their businesses, and future of those businesses are great. And I feel, especially when I was in London. So if you see in London or US and places which are evolved, consumers prefer those businesses which have a larger purpose to solve. And that if you are able to do the right messaging, like there is a shoe company in India which is selling only online, and they do a lot of recycled product to build a shoe. And I see a lot of conscious consumer actually buying that. And it is a good thing to do that. I'd rather encouraging those brands is a very good thing. So they get respect. The brands get respect automatically, and you are able to build that. But it has to serve the business purpose. And then if it is serving the social purpose also, it's great. How to select a franchise, because same food with different franchise fee. So the taste of those, this is a very difficult one. So I don't recommend you get into tasting the food. And this is one of the areas which franchisors smartly would call you and say, oh, come and try my product. While it's not bad, you could try the product. If you are convinced, then half the problem is done. But it's a business model which works. It's a business model. It's just not about the product. Why I say this, look at this. I give you example, Karthik. I'll maybe take one more minute. What people like eating in India, right? People like eating in India biryani. Biryani is the most favorite food for Indians by far. Do you know any chain in biryani which has 1,000 outlets? No, there is no chain. Maximum chains are 40, 50. That also has happened in last 3, 4, 5 years since we have good operators have come in. Earlier, there were nobody. And the food which Indians don't like in the first 5 choices is Subway. So that business has 1,000 outlets. Why? It's not about the food. It's about the business model which makes money. Business model which can be handled and managed, right? So this is very important when you are thinking about starting a business. Food is secondary or product is secondary. It's the business model. The business model should do well for you. And that's something which one has to really clearly understand. Rajiv, this is our consultant network. We have a very large consultant network called Independent Franchise Consultants. So they are available all over India, very, very experienced people. They are top class consultants with the average 2 decades of experience level, very, very strong piece. Yes, Jayant, we have many options in green energy, recycling, green energy, even solar still continues to be a very strong opportunity. We just launched a solar opportunity recently, but we have many recycling, green energy opportunities. Yeah, energy is sustainable energy is very, very big going to be in India. It's almost every corporate of India would jump into that. So it's going to be a huge, huge opportunity. So friends, there are a lot of questions. I'll try to see if I can take all of them. What is the D and the T in the date? D stands for discipline and T was training. Training yourself to be an entrepreneur. because we don't get education of being an entrepreneur. We all dream to be an entrepreneur, but trained to be an employee. So very unique situation we are all born with. And we keep dreaming to be an entrepreneur, but trained on different aspects to work for somebody. We've been taught for doing this because we're not taught on multi-disciplines. As an entrepreneur, you have to do everything. There are other three things an entrepreneur does. One is ideation. You need to continue to bring new ideas. Second is execution. You execute a lot. And third, you troubleshoot. 50% of time entrepreneurs are doing in troubleshooting what is not going for them. And even the largest of the entrepreneurs keep doing that, right? So you have to really be in these three situations, and you have to train yourself how you are able to multitask and do things, how you can attract talent, how you can attract capital. All that part is very, very important. You have to sell to everybody before they sell it for you, right? So as an entrepreneur, you have to sell it to everybody. Before you have your employees selling to you or your vendor selling to you or anybody else sells anything, you have to sell yourself to them. This is very, very important, how you train yourself on that. So Rohan says, I want to have a franchisee with almost negligible losses, no stock risk, and I can able to get 90% of investment back. Is there option? There are many options. If you do FMCG, pharma, there is no stock risk. What stock risk you have? Nothing, because you want to sell it in one day, you can sell all that stock. So if I understand your question, Rohan, is that you have to look at businesses where you have least stock risk. This is something which actually once Kishore Bayani, who's a famous Kishore Bayani, told, and he was interviewing for a franchisee, and the franchisee said, I want to buy your FMCG franchise. And Kishorji has said, look, why you want to buy my business? Because it's not profitable, a very small margin. Why don't you do anything else? He says, I don't carry risk. I'm not interested in too much of margin, but I like a business. If it doesn't do well, I can sell the entire stock and I'm out of it. So he was hedging his risk more than return on investment. So a lot of people do that, but a balance between this is very important. Another thing which is very, very important is growth. If you're not getting growth, you're not growing continuously, you'll get fatigued. It's the same business which is giving you good income, you will not enjoy it. So if your business can give you good return, which is backward linked with your life goal, also cover your risk part of it and give you a growth opportunity that you can grow with that a business which I would recommend to, especially for young people, because they have a lot of big journey and they need a growth cycle. They need a growth cycle which can take them 2 decades, 3 decades. Vaibhav, before starting a venture, a split working capital in years 50, 25. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Anil Kumar, action shared in the webinar simply on a bullet points. Yep. I've never done that. Most of the times I just talk, but I can document this and send it to you. But otherwise, if you want a recording for this, we can also send you that. I'm already associated with the entire thing. Franchise India, I worked for. Once again, please share my number. Rajiv, you can reach out. I'll put my number if anybody wants to reach out to me. Can you give me inputs on footwear, franchise, and business as per experience? Yeah, footwear has been a strong category, but depending on which brand, what location is very important. Franchise India manages from Bata to many other brands, sports brands like all the major sport franchise brands. So we can help you. Revant, best industry to focus post-COVID. This question I get almost every day, so many times, but all industries are good. And I think take out the COVID mindset out. COVID is, if it is gone, it's very good. If it is still not gone, it is at least gone from the mindset. People are back in business, economy is back. It's flooded with liquidity. A lot is going on. Select the opportunity which would continue to be exciting for next 4 or 5 years. Would be very strong, and depending on your experience and your investment appetite, Franchise India can also advise. You should not go wrong in terms of you don't keep the COVID factor so much involved in that. And then we go what is the scope of logistics? Logistics is a very big business, very, very business. And there are two things which are happening simultaneously. One is called last mile logistics, which means distribution center to retailer. This is very strong, very, very big business, and not many players are there. And then there is a last mile delivery business, which means from a retailer to consumer. So this is overcrowded. This has, while it still continue to be a very high demand, because still we not direct to home business, direct to consumer business is still very small in India and continue to be very, very big. Almost everything you consume would come directly to home. You just saw earlier at FMCG, now you got pharma, medicine has started coming to your home, and then you will see regulators would keep changing new things. And the next thing might be liquor. Liquor would come to your home. You just take it on an app and it will come. Bombay, it is already started delivering. So it's not legally allowed, but in the framework, when it comes in, you'll find these people delivering you everything what you consume. So it's direct to home is a very strong franchise business also. Sagar, thank you very much. And what is an average investment goes into a franchise? The average investment in a franchise can range as low as 4-5 lakh rupees, which means that you take a delivery franchise or a micro kiosk franchise or likes of them, and it can go as high as maybe 500 crores for a 5-star hotel. And you can take a master franchise, you can take an area franchise, and that also is a great option. We have a lot of options on area and master franchise, which you can also do. How to make a monthly subscription dry car wash business and expand that pan-India? Yeah, dry car wash is also a great opportunity. And this is serious opportunity. Europe, it's already become very serious because they want to save water. And now technology has come in, which can really support dry wash. Earlier, technology was not so evolved. Now technology is there. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to really do that. A lot of global franchisees, even in India, we have done 3 or 4 companies in the same space, and they're doing. I've been told that they're doing good. It's a micro franchise business model. In US, we call the man in the truck model. Somebody comes in a van and does your cleaning and then goes. India, it might be man in the bike model, where somebody can come and do it at home, drive, or you have a small center where you can do that. But think as much convenience you want to give it to customer now, because they are asking that now. The habit from Amazon and Flipkart and likes of them, Zomato, Swiggy, has really made you lazy. And now as a customer, they want everything to come to them. And this is a real trend. This is a real trend, which means a direct to home business, direct to home services would become. So next wave would be now you have laundry and other things coming to your home. And then you will see a gardener coming from a franchise business. You will hire a gardener for 3 times a week, and it will be a franchise business, and he will come and do services for you. Your home cleaning services, you no more would have just people working full time. And a lot of people in future would not like to have people, because it's an intrusion to their privacy. They would like maybe somebody comes for 3 hours, and this would come from a franchise. So next wave is on direct to home services, which you consume. So that would start really happening. So the micro trends would really start taking structure. So still, I don't want to disappoint anybody. It's already 1 hour. And so Vaibhav has mandated to have profit in first 3 years to raise funds later on. It depends on business, Vaibhav. I mean, what you want to do, but so that's important. And then Vikram, I'll call you. So that's I can see you on the call. It's due to disturbance, I had missed some content. And SP Sharma, I am a retired professional. I want to keep myself busy, and I want a business with low investment and risks. Please, I'm from Chandigarh. Mr. Sharma, if you are retired, obviously you need to look at business which can complement your experience, because you would have a lot of experience with you. And there are many businesses which can do that, depending on what kind of experience you had in past. So a lot of consultative franchisees are there, which can do very well for you. Education franchise can do very well for you, because it's something which you can handle it easily. But don't do business just because you want to keep yourself busy. This is another mistake a lot of people tell me. The 2 things I don't like hearing from people. One, I want to do business because I want to be busy. There are many things you can do to be busy. You don't risk your capital to be busy. It's the most expensive enjoyment you are taking on. There are many other things you can do and keep yourself socially contribute and do that. So never do this part. And second, never tell that I want to do business which is part-time, because part-time is not part-time results. Part-time is directly where people think the part-time results would come. Actually, part-time means part performance and zero results. Never would come in, which means that you will not get the results. Even if you do 5 businesses, these need your full time. So I'm a big believer that if you anything you want to do, you put full time to that business, and that's where the business would thrive. Otherwise, not thrive. So these two are should be taken out of structure, and you should always focus on, building businesses or taking that risk of getting into business should do something meaningful for you. Even if you're retired, it should do something more purposeful for your future of family, or you want to give back to society or do whatever you want to do that. But business should be driven from making that money, which can support any passion, any thing which is part of your life goal. At this stage, maybe your life goal is something very different. It should support that. So friends, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. I have extremely run out of time, and I'll put my quickly number. There is already a hotline number which is available. So you can WhatsApp on that number, you can call that number, and somebody would suggest you and maybe link you with the right kind of consultant across India, and then you can really work with them. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time today, and look forward for working with some of you. And if you need to reach out to me, then also send a WhatsApp on the same number, which has been put in by Kanika, which is my colleague on the call. She's put the number called 97176838838. So that number, you can send a WhatsApp and we'll set up a call, maybe a short 10-minute call to understand where you're coming from. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time today. Hope you got some understanding on the business. If any feedback you have, also share the feedback. Thank you very much.